We've been talking about Project 2025 on this show for months. But tonight we need to discuss what it means for your taxes. The far-right plan calls for a two-tier tax system, 15% for low earners and 30% for higher ones. The cutoff is around $168,000 a year. Well, an analysis from Morning Joe contributor and former Treasury official Steve Rattner shows that it would actually be a tax hike for the lower and middle classes and gives the rich, guess what? A big tax cut, tens of thousands of dollars a year. Back with us to discuss this and more, Juanita Tolliver, MSNBC political analyst and host of the What a Day podcast. And Stuart Stevens is here, a veteran of the Mitt Romney and George W. Bush presidential campaigns. He is now with the Lincoln Project. Juanita, we have talked a lot about the threat from Project 2025 on things like democracy, women's health, LGBTQ rights. Do voters understand what it could mean for their wallets?
I mean, if you keep showing the graphs like that and explaining it plainly, they will, because what that shows is Donald Trump is coming for the people who are already struggling in this country to create the opportunity to give the wealthiest of the wealthiest a tax cut. Steph, this is his MO. He did this in 2017 with his tax cuts for the ultra wealthy and corporations, because that's who he cares about. He does not care about anyone else in this process. And I appreciate also how that graph shows a difference in what the Biden-Harris administration has tried to do for people who are struggling, for people who are living with low incomes, whether that's the extended child tax credit that we saw lift millions of children out of poverty, or their efforts related to student loan debt, where they're relieving debt for millions of borrowers across the country. And so it seems like a two-pronged effort for Donald Trump to implement harmful Project 2025 policies with the intent of being petty and trying to undo all of the good work of the Biden-Harris administration.
Stuart, Juanita did it perfectly. How does this campaign need to explain Project 2025 to voters so it really lands?
Well, I mean, I think there's different areas. If you want to talk about the economic one, it's really pretty simple. He wants to cut taxes on billionaires. He wants to raise your taxes to make up the difference. That's not a very complicated analysis. I think people will grasp that. People are never really willing to believe that someone will cut their taxes. They are always much more willing to believe their taxes will go up. I mean, we saw this in all these Republican campaigns I did. We made all these ads about tax cuts. They never really worked that well. But the idea that you would stop taxes from going up was something that people would vote for. You have these cuts in Medicaid. This stuff is tremendously popular in America. There's a reason that Donald Trump doesn't want to talk about Project 2025, because if you test that stuff, it tests about 20/80 to the bad. And if you test what the 100-day agenda was that the president laid out in Michigan, and now will become the vice president's agenda, that's about 80/20 to the good. So, I mean, it's not very complicated. You take the 80/20 and run it against the 20/80, and I think you're going to have a good day.
Let's stick with numbers, Stuart. Earlier this week, we heard Donald Trump say on social media, Elon Musk has given me $45 million a month. We better make him happy. And we know that a fundraising email from the Trump campaign just read, quote, I love Elon. But unfortunately for Donald Trump, Mr. Musk is seemingly backing away from his pledge to donate. Watch this.
What's been reported in the media is simply not true.
Okay.
I'm not donating $45 million a month to Trump.
Right.
No, what I have done is I have created a PAC or super PAC, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Which is, I simply call it the America PAC.
All right. Elon Musk can obviously still help Donald Trump in other ways, and a super PAC tied to him is expected to spend tens of millions of dollars helping Trump. But even from a PR, from a branding perspective, Stuart, what do you think of this?
Well, this is really one of the more delicious moments in this campaign. So Elon Musk wanted J.D. Vance on the ticket, right? He thought this would be great. So what do you need to do to get cut a deal and get Donald Trump's attention? You say, I'm going to give you a bunch of money. So he goes out and says, look, dude, I'm going to give you $45 million a month and, great with J.D. Vance. So Trump goes with J.D. Vance. And what does Elon Musk do? Up? Well, maybe not. I don't think so. I mean, you have a guy who's actually rich, who actually knows a thing about business, completely taking this guy, Donald Trump, to the cleaners. It's just absolutely beautiful to see.
Well, he said he doesn't like things or doesn't want to be part or following a cult of personality. But of course, many argue that's exactly what Elon Musk has done. Juanita, what is your take on how Vice President Harris is framing her campaign? I mean, we saw her at her first rally today.
She's doing an amazing job focusing on the future. She is really just laying it out for the public in a way that they are excited for. The energy is something that even reporters are saying they're surprised by. And you know it's got to be good when Beyonce gives you permission to walk out to one of her major hit songs, Freedom. And I do appreciate that Vice President Harris on the campaign trail is emphasizing our freedoms as the core of her campaign. Tie it to the freedom to access abortion care, which she is absolutely going to hit Donald Trump over the head with for the duration of this campaign. The freedom to unionize as workers, which is going to have broad appeal based on what we've seen from younger workers and workers demanding better from employers, as well as the other things about the future related to paid family leave, childcare, things that people desperately need. And so what the vice president is doing is painting an explicit vision that people can get excited by and, dare I say, feel hopeful about, Stephanie, because I feel like that has been in short supply. And the number that signifies that hope wasn't the 100 million raised within 24 hours on the first day of the campaign. It was the fact that 60% of those grassroots donors were first-time donors. They saw her ascension as something that was so inspiring that they are tapping into this election cycle for the first time only 3 months from Election Day. And so that's the momentum. That's the energy that's going to translate into not only more donations, but also volunteer shifts to get out the vote ahead of November.